Today we're going to explore a series dealing with jealousy, futility, mortality, and class warfare. That's right, we're talking about Toy Story parts 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
The fuck, man? Some dark shit going on in these movies. Anyway, man, Toy Story is a beloved series, isn't it?
Yeah.
And despite all odds being stacked against the idea of sequels, completely sucking, this managed to beat those odds. And lo and behold, I don't think any of these movies has been hated. Now, we haven't seen part 4, but we know that in itself is now beloved.
Yeah.
Has been graciously accepted into the pantheon that is this entire series.
Apparently.
So kudos to that. We're going to talk about part 1, 2, and 3. Now, this is one of your favorites from childhood. And, this movie came out, what was it, 95?
Yep.
Right smack dab in the middle of my edgelord phase. When nothing but the most R-rated movies.
Had your little bangs.
I was like, I ain't going to watch anything but horror and R-rated nonsense.
Yeah.
So, I was pretty surprised when I dug it, and I dug it aplenty. That itself is an accolade for the fucking movie. It's just something about these particular flicks that captures the imagination and nay, the heart. And maybe that part of that is that, they're laced with these concepts that are pretty heavy, but everybody goes through, the idea of being replaced, the idea of losing something that you hold dear.
Being all jealous, turd.
Jealousy is a big one. And putting it in the package of fucking toys.
Yeah.
Makes it so relatable, makes it lighthearted, makes it seem like nothing intrinsically fucking evil is going down, like in part 3, where damn, that bear was fucking just straight up a metaphor for the high class manipulating the government to keep their positions of comfort and keeping the lower class under their foot. What the fuck?
That bear, though.
Yeah, man, well, let's talk about these particular 3 installments. If you had to pick a best one of the 3, which one would it be?
I think the best made one is 3.
Mm-hmm.
But I think my favorite, and this is without taking nostalgia goggles into account.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm being serious here, I gotta admit, I think part 2 is my favorite.
Interesting. Very interesting. I'll preface my choice by saying that this is an interesting series in the sense that, yes, everybody agrees that these are all good installments, including myself. But I gotta say, before I make my choice, I gotta throw a little negative shade here. Basically, all 3 are just like a rehash of the same plot.
Yeah, it's the same movie.
So for that reason, I have to give part 3 the accolades for being my favorite. One, because despite treading down that familiar path again, it takes it into some avenues that are new. It does it in a way that's, again, emotionally impacting.
Yeah.
And it actually provides, I think, the biggest leap in terms of the character growth for everybody, human and toy alike.
Yeah, there was a time when I would have agreed with part 3 being the best one. I still think it's the best one, honestly.
Yeah. That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
In all honesty, that's the only negativity I have towards this series. And it's not actually negativity because they all handle it pretty fucking well.
They basically just take the same plot but add different themes to it and use the fact that it's basically the same thing in different ways.
I think the weakest, in my opinion, would be part 2 for this reason. Because that one's the one where it becomes clear you're rehashing a plot, only you're just switching roles, basically. But again, I'm not saying, I'm just, if I had to, that's the situation here. If I had to. We also kind of discovered, when you rewatch something, you kind of begin to break down stuff and wonder and ask questions, which is always a mistake.
Yeah.
Movies are sometimes just meant to be movies. Delving too deep in them can ruin them. Now, we didn't do that, thankfully. But we did ask some questions that the movies brought up. For example, Al from Al's Toy Barn in part 2. Was it me, or was this Cheeto dick fuck? Was it implied that he was a pedophile at one point?
Yes.
That's just the air I got from that. He has a dream at one point. He's asleep. Keep in mind, this is a balding, middle-aged loser that's made his money out of
Toys.
Toys. Okay,
Yeah.
we all know what those particular stereotype entails. I should know best.
We are L's.
Yeah, well, you don't want to lump yourself in that.
Yeah, I was
fucking
about to
company.
say, never mind.
Yeah, we're just a couple of losers that like fat losers that like toys.
Yeah.
And
Cheetos.
most likely eat Cheetos.
Yeah.
But there's a stereotype attached to that. That you can't get any. That you can't get laid.
Yeah.
Well, here Al clearly does not get laid. He lives
No.
alone in a posh apartment, bought from his toy wealth.
Yeah.
But he's having a dream, a nightmare, in fact.
Yeah.
And he wakes up, apologizing to officers, basically.
Yeah.
And the question rises in our minds: what does a loser with no life, other than toys and being a Cheeto dick, clearly stroking it off on his own because he's not going to get laid anytime?
Yeah.
What does he have to fear of cops?
Yeah.
And clearly the answer is he's a pedo.
The alternative and the probably what they were going for is that he stole Woody, because they do call him a criminal later.
I don't know, man.
But in the moment, and most
dude.
likely true, stroking it off the kids.
Oh man, old Al. See, I don't know, man. Stealing a Woody.
Yeah.
More like
Yeah,
having a Woody in front of children.
Yeah, you're not gonna go to jail for stealing a Woody.
You heard it here first. Al from Al's Barn, totally a pedo.
Confirmed by Pixar.
Yeah. They just let they just informed Variety to print that issue. Al is a pedo.
Yeah.
That's it. They don't even explain which Al.
Yeah, just
Thousands of Als are like,
Al.
dude, come on,
Yeah.
man. Anyway, give me a talking point here, man. What do you got in mind?
Okay, so if we go for the one that gave me the warmth, I have to give it to part one.
Right.
Just because.
Does the nostalgia factor
Yeah,
play?
there's too much of a nostalgia factor there, which is why I wanted to be fair.
Right.
And try to take that out. That being said, I did get a sickening amount of spine tinglings with this movie just because of just remembering that shit.
Yeah, there's something to be said about the power of nostalgia. Case in point, people won't shut the fuck up about their childhood if somebody dares touch it. So I will say I'm glad that you're more level-headed than your average Joe.
I'll say this: if I'm looking at it realistically, I think part one is the most cartoony, and I don't want to say that as a obviously it's a cartoon basically, but it's loud at times, and the humor is a little more simple.
Yeah,
in the first one, it's more gag based.
I think in a lot of ways the series grew up with its audience, its target audience, which in the '90s were kids, and now they're adults. Obviously, I think it grew up quite well with them without ever losing the appeal to children, which is very important. Obviously, since it's called Toy Story.
Yeah.
But there's a simplicity to it. There is almost like a directness to it. The themes aren't as contrived or dark. And I don't mean contrived in a bad way. I just mean, the complexity of some of the subtext and innuendo in part 3 will mean nothing to kids.
Yeah.
But thankfully, they keep the themes that are more accessible there as well. They don't completely close out kids, obviously. But they still are respecting their audience as it grows along, you know? So and likewise for part 2, it was a little step forward with some stuff that older viewers would be more interested in, so to speak. So that's I get that nostalgic factor, obviously. And I can't say that I had any nostalgia for the movie, even though I enjoyed it quite a bit. Obviously, it was one of those movies that I enjoyed quite a bit, but since you liked it so much, it kind of like wore on me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because I used to watch this every day, basically.
This and E.T., no matter what you say.
Never happened.
You watched E.T.
I did used to watch E.T. a lot. But E.T. was one of those that I never liked.
And yet you watched it voraciously.
For some reason. That being said, I just want to throw this out there. This is the earliest memory of a movie that I have. Possibly the earliest memory of life.
It makes sense. I mean, you were 2 years old when this thing came out.
Yeah, 95.
Yeah, I remember, of course, I don't remember exactly when. I'm assuming somewhere in the vicinity of 6 months of its coming out, because I remember watching this in the theater, but it was cheapo theater. So, you know, it was already like a second run theater, so about 6 months maybe it had been out. And you were there, so I don't know if you remember that that viewing.
Yeah, well, it was in the theater. I don't remember anything. I don't claim to remember the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember that scene where Mr. Potato Head's lifting a little, you know,
and his arms fall off.
Yeah, and his little arms fall off. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
So when I saw it again, I was like, yay.
Yeah, but I remember you being quite taken by it, and then me getting a clamshell, you know, VHS for you, and then like it being like completely worn to smithereens.
Yeah, I went through a couple of them.
Yeah, I remember I did my old Frankenstein fix job on one of them, and you were like, "What happened to that entire section?"
You're like, "Well,
I'm like, well, you know,
it's taped."
I'm not an editor, so I couldn't replace the
scene. By the end, all I was looking at was, "You got fit," and then they would end.
Oh man, which brings us to Randy Newman.
Oh, Randy.
Look, you know, I'm not gonna lie.
As the series evolved, it kind of evolved away from Randy also.
Yeah, they clearly abandoned Randy, even though he was still musical director on this fucking series.
And writing the lyrics.
And they were clearly like, dude, don't ever sing again. You know what I'm saying? They were like, please do not get your weird, kind of pseudo-retarded sounding voice on our picture. And you know what? I gotta say, controversial, big mistake.
We need more Randy.
Yeah, we need more Randy. We need more of that shit. I'll be honest with you, man. The score for the first one is the one that was the best one for me.
Yeah, I think it really is. There's something weird, though retarded he sounds.
Mm-hmm.
There's something weirdly fitting whenever he comes in, and they only bring him into like the kind of important parts, you know, the ones that are kind of supposed to have,
vocally speaking,
yeah, and yeah, man. Though he sounds retarded, he does kind of add a weird feel to the movie, and just the music is better in the first one.
I think he gives it like a feeling of humanity, relatability, you know. And yes, of course, Randy Newman is known for, you know, having ulterior motives with his lyrics, but here, that's not so much the case. Here he's literally just kind of singing what's going on. And so there's no like, I should people should fucking die lyrics, you know. There's none of that. But yeah, again, there's something about that directness that just makes everything a lot more, I don't know, man. It's a lot easier to digest as something wholesome.
Weirdly, the moment where Buzz is trying to fly out and he's devastated by his life, being torn to shreds, and he's like singing over that, it really works. Yeah. Despite the fact that, the lyrics are so simple. It's like literally just explaining what's happening.
So I would be totally for alternative cuts of part 2 and 3 where Randy Newman just sings everything.
Yeah.
This is what's happening.
I don't know.
I'm on the thing, and he's just it's just the same song, only with different lyrics. Oh,
I don't know how effective the Jesse scene would have been in part 2 if Randy was there, but I would love to see it nonetheless.
Indeed. All right, well that brings a question to mind. If you had to pick a favorite scene from parts 1, 2, and 3, what would it be? Only one scene you can pick. Hit me with it.
I'll give you the second one first.
I said one scene, damn it.
Oh, I thought we were doing 4 each.
No, there's just one scene. You have to pick the best one from all 3 movies. You know, the one that takes the cake.
I'm torn because there's 2 contenders.
Well, there must only be one. This is Highlander for Toy Story.
I'm gonna give it to the Jesse scene because it almost made me cry.
Specifically, there are several Jesse scenes.
In the second one where she's remembering her previous life.
Right.
It was pretty effective. That being said, back in the day, the scene in part 3 when they just kind of accept their death and join hands, choke the old throat. Yeah,
I gotta say that's my favorite scene. Still, it's pretty. It's deep. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's deep at a moment where you would expect. I mean, you do get that, of course, big slash of hope. They are saved, but you know, it's a movie with some dark tones, and mortality is one of them. You know, if there was a story arc to this, you know, the idea of losing something is like the major theme connecting all three, and losing your life is kind of like the big one. And there was just that you know, fuck. I mean, that's it. But if we're gonna go down, we're gonna go down together.
Yeah,
it's a tear jerker. If you didn't fucking jerk a little tear, then you're not a human. You're a subhuman piece of crap.
I think the fact that I had seen that scene already didn't make me completely lose it this time. But the first time, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna cry, aren't I? Didn't though, thankfully. My streak was still intact. That being said, that damn Jesse scene in part 2 almost did it today. It's like, shit!
By your streak, you mean the one in your underwear?
Yeah.
Still intact, folks.
Dude, I had
it's not going anywhere.
I had to do a little bit of lip bite because I was shitting on my pants, not because of the scene.
Oh, man. Anyway. All right. So, what do you got, man? Is there any negatives for you in this series?
Unfortunately, I do think the animation in the first one hasn't aged particularly well.
That dog, man.
Yeah. And
holy shit balls.
And it should be said that I think most of the toy stuff looks fine.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's some textures that are a little funky, but it looks okay. It's just whenever you see humans,
the faces,
especially the little girls, Andy's sisters, freaking hideous face.
Andy's sister is like a fucking 51-year-old woman named Marta, and she's gonna cook you some dinner if you stop by her house to visit her son.
But she's gonna be ugly the whole time.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you and her son are playing video games and being like, you know, best buds like always, and she's like totally annoying him by butting in.
Yeah.
Asking if you guys want something else.
You're like, no,
dude, no.
Marta.
Definitely cut your hair though.
Yeah.
Yeah, his
and of course you have the dog.
His sister's animation is terrible. Andy kind of looks horrible too.
Yeah, he does.
Even in part 2.
Yeah.
But not as horrible as his sister. And yeah, that fucking Sid's dog has got to be
the worst.
One of the worst things that Pixar has animated. It's fucking terrible if you look at it. It's so bad that it would fit right in with those cheapo knockoff CGI animated pictures that, you know, a bunch of studios do to try to cash in on Pixar movies nowadays.
Yeah.
You know? So that's actually pretty good. Pixar had the shitty animation for them was good back then.
Yeah.
Now it's just a normal shitty animation for everyone
else. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, considering the time it came out, and that it was basically the first full length CG animated movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, Lion King, it's live action now, dude.
Oh yeah. Oh, dude, live action Toy Story.
Dude, I would kill for a live action Toy Story with the actors.
Yeah.
You know, maybe not Tim Allen because kind of
maybe not
a good person, but
maybe not Arlie Ermy. He's dead.
There's a lot of dead people.
Yeah, there really is.
Never mind. Don't bring a live action unless you're gonna resurrect the dead. In which case, cool.
I would love to see Don Rickles' head just kind of pasted on to just his head, and then they insert
his body parts.
Yeah,
disgusting. Anyway, wow, I don't know how we got there. Yeah. Another thing about part 1 that is not an element of concern in these sequels is that part 1 reminds me of like the movie The Possession. You know, the one about that possession.
Yeah.
You know why? Because both movies have nobody living in the universe apparently,
dude.
Except for the central characters.
It's so weird.
Nobody exists in these worlds. Nobody's driving on the streets. It's all empty.
Yeah, until the end with the scene where there's a bunch of cars all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But up until that point, the entire Earth is barren.
Yeah, they're living in a weird vacuum.
The scene that always stuck with me, that really like felt that way when I was a kid, even before I even noticed dumb shit like that, was the scene at Dino Co. Where people are putting gas, but you never see anybody. And I was always like, man, why is it so empty? Even back then.
But yeah, it's something you do notice. I remember noticing it back then.
Yeah.
I remember going, what the fuck is everybody? Now, I understand why.
Yeah.
You know, the animation, it cost money.
Yeah.
And they were like, fuck it, this is a way we could save a few bucks here.
Obviously, humans weren't their priority, too.
Yes. Clearly, humans and dogs were not their priority. But, so I understood why instinctively, obviously, or not even instinctively, just fucking logically and intellectually. But, at the same time, The fuck? Now with the possession, there's no excuse. What the fuck, dude? It's a live action movie. Just put people somewhere.
Yeah.
They're literally in a hospital at a point. There's nobody but them. How? Anyway, getting off topic here. The point is, there's also a lot of clever humor for adults. Some of it's downright nasty. If you really,
Yeah, there's a couple.
There's a lot of like little sexual, subtext jabs in there. But that's pretty cool because that ensures that adults also have something to chew on. Not that the other stuff wouldn't entertain.
Yeah,
but
and I think that happens more as the movies go along. Too.
Yeah, again, very appropriate that they should do that. So that's cool. But yeah, and on that subject, because the humor kind of grows up with the crowd, so does the presentation, so does everything else, So obviously, Part 3 has the best animation. Yeah. It's actually pretty fucking amazing how good that animation is.
The leap from 1 to 2 was actually pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Just in the quality of how everything.
Yeah, especially given it's just like what, a couple of years.
Yeah, like 4 years.
Yeah.
Less even because it was kind of a troubled production. Just the textures and everything is just way better.
Dogs actually look like dogs.
Yeah, dogs look like dogs. The humans look a little better. Still bad though. But then the leap from 2 to 3 is like, damn. The humans actually look like you don't want to kill them instantly. Shank them with your knife.
So let me ask you this: favorite toy? Well, first of all, really we can't say that because everybody's gonna pick either Woody or Buzz.
Yeah.
So let's knock those guys off the list. Woody or Buzz? Gimme.
Buzz actually.
Are you just saying that because at one point he's Spanish Buzz, which is quite possibly the greatest thing that ever happened?
No, I actually think I think his change from 1 to 2, and in 3 is the one I like the most because he's very just his character is completely different.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see the change that Woody's had and the toys have had on him, and he's all in at that point. So I would say 2 and 3 Buzz is my favorite. Obviously, he's kind of a butthole in the first one, but
I gotta agree with Buzz because he is the one that has most to play with.
Yeah.
Again, we got the duality of his character. At one point, he legitimately thinks he is who he is, Buzz Lightyear, the guy. Which, by the way, raises a whole slew of questions that we'll get into right now. But the point is, that provides us with one side of him that is actually revisited, most amusingly with Spanish Buzz, which alone would have won him the position of my favorite. But
it's true.
But yeah, like you say, in terms of the Buzz Lightyear, the toy, I think he's the most kind-hearted of the two. Because really, look, I'm just gonna put this out there. I'm not slighting Woody here.
Yeah.
But in part 1, he was downright actually trying to murk someone.
He's pretty evil in the first one.
Let's not forget that he kicked that 8-ball, which is a toy and sentient, into the fucking chasm between the bed and the wall.
Which, by the way, in part 2, you see that he's been shelved because of it.
Yes. So clearly something went wrong there. And he had no problem trying to, take Buzz out of the picture. Now, I know he says he didn't intend to kill him, but he was going to throw him into a chasm of forgetfulness. He
was downright evil, selfish in the first one. Now I get that that's his storyline, his story progression, character progression.
But it still happened.
But it still happened. Yeah, Buzz was just kind of, he was dumb. He wasn't evil.
Yeah. So yeah, ultimately Buzz is kind of the coolest guy. I wouldn't say he changed dramatically. Which usually is kind of what you want to see in a. I guess that's why Woody is so likable because it's really his story.
Yeah.
He's the one that's actually changed and grown, versus Buzz, who just. I mean, granted, at one point was deluded into thinking he was Buzz Lightyear, the man, the character.
But I think.
He was always. He was always a moral character.
Yeah. It's just kind of shifted.
Yeah.
In a different way.
Yeah, I agree. Now, let's get to the subject of Buzz thinking that he's a fucking character.
Yeah.
Why do none of the other toys, with a few exceptions, think that they're their characters?
Yeah.
What the hell's up with that?
I wonder if it's just like a Buzz-centric thing or if it's like electronic toy thing.
But there's other electronic toys.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Well, why doesn't who's an electronic toy? Doesn't the RC think he's an actual race car?
Yeah.
Of course, he doesn't talk, so maybe he does.
Maybe.
Why do some toys not talk?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Why? Why did the phone toy in part 3 have to ring to talk when he had a dang stinky mouth?
Yeah, it's true.
Is there like flesh and blood inside these toys if you dig deep enough?
God damn, no, I hope not.
No, well, obviously not, because we've seen the insides of some of them. But the point is, the rules, like if you really think about it, the rules of how these toys live and die don't make sense. For example, one of the big ones here, in part 1 especially, or most notably, is Buzz.
Yeah, who thinks he's Buzz.
Yeah, who thinks he's Buzz, but at certain times, especially when Sid takes him out of the claw machine, he just goes into static.
Yeah. He still obeys the toy rules.
Yeah, why wouldn't he just be like, fuck this shit, I'm not gonna need this claw get me?
Yeah, I'm Buzz.
Yeah. So sometimes they don't make sense for the sake of the story. But, it doesn't matter. It's still fun and it's cool. But it's just one of those things that I noticed. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? What are the rules here?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Also, we noticed that RC seemed to have just kind of died when his batteries ran out.
Yeah.
Which brings up the question, if a toy is battery powered, once his batteries run out, do they just die? Or do they go into some sort of stasis? Because if so, Buzz is battery powered.
Yeah, who replaced his battery in the midst of the, what was it, like 8 years or some shit like that? Between 2 and 3?
Yeah.
He was just in the chest. Who replaced his battery?
Yeah.
Now you could say maybe the other toys replaced batteries. Woody's seen replacing batteries. That brings up a whole nother slew of questions.
Where are the batteries?
Is that why our batteries always go missing?
Oh,
Let's find out toys are real. In which case, I'm living in a horror house.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, man. There's a lot of cool little things you can think about, like about.
I like
the logic behind it, which is virtually non-existent. But that's not the point of these movies.
Yeah.
I did suggest in part, but it can't be because this was a part 2 thing. There's kind of a throwaway gag in part 2 about the sheer amount of Buzz backstock. That's clearly a jab at Star Wars and their insane, stupid merchandising that just stagnates on shelves, and a bunch of morons claim that it's fucking cool, but really nobody buys this garbage.
Yeah.
There's a throwaway gag about that there. So I suggested, is it the fact that Buzz is supposed to be marketed at collectors more than kids that makes him believe the delusion of his grandeur? But that's clearly a part 2 joke. So, I guess it's fun to think that, but really
no. And also the aliens in part 1 and really the whole series seem to think they're aliens too.
That's true.
They worship the claw.
What is up with that?
It's happening.
What's going
on?
Yeah, who decides what the fuck? Or, creepy thought here, did all the toys at one point believe that they were what they were? But no, because Woody didn't know that he was, this character. Who decides? Are there souls in these things? What's going on?
Maybe it's like a thing that you earn, like once you reach a certain level in life.
It's not cats, dude. There's no 9 lives.
Yeah, once you reach a certain level, you just ascend to knowing things.
So yeah, you definitely could tear the movies apart if you wanted to, but again, that's not the point of these fucking movies, and there is like a wholesomeness to them that kind of protects that. There's just a type of movie that doesn't. You got to be a complete fucking dick to try to start tearing it apart.
Yeah.
In that fashion. So we're just thinking off the top of our heads. Questions that definitely rise up if you have too much time on your hands.
So what was your favorite non-Buzz Woody?
Okay, so my favorite non-Buzz Woody character. This is hard because when you get to the secondary and tertiary and just background characters, you basically have to go on looks and what you would like to see.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to say. If I had to pick one, do you have one in mind?
I think mine's Ham.
Ham's pretty cool. Plus, it's what's his name? John. Is it Ratzenberger or Katzenberger?
Yeah, Ratzenberger.
You know, Cheers guy.
One of the names.
House 2 guy.
Yeah.
Best part of House 2, by the way.
I like Ham. Ham's pretty great. I like the fact that he's just kind of like, this is a thing that's happening.
Yeah. I really like Jessie.
Yeah.
There's just something about her. Maybe it's her spunk. Maybe it's the fact that she elicits a response in Buzz.
Yeah.
That apparently makes him a man of miracles and / Hispanic. I mean, Spaniard. Greatest scene of all time.
I was about to say.
But I had to go strictly on looks. She's a secondary character easily. So a tertiary character, I would pick, what's his name? The little horsey.
Oh, Bullseye?
And you know why? Cute as fuck.
Super cute.
That's
I
it.
like how Bullseye is just a dog, by the way.
Basically, it makes no sense. But who decides why does Slinky talk, but Bullseye doesn't?
Yeah.
They're both animal toys. I mean, so is Rex.
Yeah, so is
Who decides? Why? Is Bullseye retarded? Is that why he can't talk?
I think it's because he's meant to be like a steed.
Slinky's supposed to be a dog.
Yeah, but look, I think Bullseye is like...
Slinky can communicate with dogs, dude.
Yeah,
he translated dog.
So, here's the thing. Here's why I think... Because I think Bullseye falls under vehicle toy. RC is also a vehicle and doesn't talk. So I think because Bullseye falls under that vehicle segment, that's why it is. Because you also see toy cars that don't talk.
That's true.
So...
I'm not buying it, but I'm going to roll with it just for the sake of
like
it.
a car.
There's a little...
Yeah.
That'll work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, again, these questions must needs be answered.
Yeah.
What else you got, man?
You know.
Oh,
look, let's just talk about the greatest scene of all time.
you know.
It's very clear that we were going to agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask what your favorite gag was in the movies, but clearly it's Spanish Buzz.
Spanish Buzz is the greatest thing. Look, and it's maybe just... I don't know, man. Maybe it's just because we've encountered many a time in our adventures in watching movies Spanish dubs that are just absolutely god-awfully hilarious.
Yeah.
You know, and we are, of course, Mexican-Americans, so we speak Spanish. And, but we don't speak that type of Spanish.
Yeah.
So there's something about the Castellan fucking accent that makes everything sound douchey but funny.
It really does.
You know, so one time we were watching Desperado, which
man.
is a movie about Mexicans, where the main Mexican, quote, the biggest Mexican I've ever seen, is played by a Spanish guy, Antonio Banderas. And we saw a dub where it was a Spanish dub, but from Spain. Who does that?
It's supposed Spanish to be Mexicans. Dub. Yeah, Spanish dub. It's Mexicans to dub it.
Yeah, it's about Mexicans. Get Mexicans who'll do it for like a peanut to dub this thing. Come on, man. So, of course, instead of him saying shit, he says, mierdas.
That's so badly done.
So awful. Yeah. So seeing Buzz, full-on Spaniard.
Doing little moves and shit.
Dude, I laugh hard, man.
They hurt.
So maybe it's just a personal thing, but that was super fucking funny to me. As for something that maybe had a little bit more thought behind it, I don't know, man. All the gags are good in it, you know, or all the jokes are fucking funny. There's really no downside to any fucking gag. And again, this Spanish Buzz is just completely blocking any memory of anything else out.
I mean, once you see Spanish Buzz, it just kind of erases
pretty much everything. That's it. You reach the end of the road.
Pinnacle of filmmaking.
All right, who's the biggest asshole? Sid?
Yeah.
Okay. Al? Or that fucking bear, man?
Well,
what's the fucking bear's name? I forgot his name.
Lotso.
Fucking Lotso. He even got a shitty ass name.
I gotta say, if we're going realistically here, Al is, because he might be diddling kids.
Dude, he's clearly diddling kids.
But villain-wise, Lotso is the worst.
Yeah, Lotso. I think. Yeah, as far as villains go, he had the most substance behind him. You know, because there is a lot of subtext there.
Yeah, it's basically just taking the story of Jesse and making it he's evil now.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, you know what? it works on so many levels. The idea of a person that projects their own problems onto other people is fucking a prominent issue nowadays on the internet. So I bet you a lot of people, you know, you gotta imagine that the people writing these things are at least a little bit tech savvy.
Yeah.
I bet you they're like, damn, these motherfucking people
suck.
It's just them to project. So that's what this motherfucker does. But yeah, on top of that, you know, there's the whole weird kind of like social, class warfare angle to it.
Yeah.
That at one point I was like, am I just reading too much into this? But then there's a fucking line that basically, you know, hammers that nail down. And I was like, what the fuck? So that was pretty cool. Yeah, you know, surprisingly interesting villain. And, you know, he got his comeuppance, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that. Who the fuck voiced him?
Still a butthole at the end, too.
Who voiced him?
I forgot. I looked him up. Oh, Ned Beatty.
Oh, Ned Beatty. So, yeah, he definitely got fucked over a rock
in
the woods. Good. That's what you get, Lotso, for having Lotso cash and not sharing the wealth. No, that's not a pro-communist statement. I'm just saying he should get a stuffing. Shanked.
Yeah.
Yeah, easily the best villain. Al is clearly a pedo, so he gets, I guess, the second.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's the worst crime ever, but same time.
I would say
we're just theorizing here about Al.
Al is just kind of like a lame collector guy who diddles kids, but
I thought you were gonna try to walk him back. Into
he's a piece of shit. Diddles
definitely
kids.
diddling.
But I think Stinky Pete ends up being the villain in part 2. Because he's a dickhead, and he's trying to freaking sabotage everything. Plus, it's Kelsey Grammer, Frazier himself.
There's a lot to be said about selfishness in these movies too. That's a theme, you know. This idea of selfishness is really vilified, which is good because let's face it, we're growing up in a culture where selfishness, materialism, and all that shit is glorified. It's just like, you know, just watch any music video. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm all about my girl Ari, but I don't want to hear Seven Rings where she's like, yo, I got riches, bitch. I'm going to spend. We get it. I'm not rich. But anyway, yeah, so it's just good to see that type of behavior vilified.
I also like his kind of motivation behind it of being the toy no one wants because it sucks. Because we always go to the store and there's always that one James Ellsworth figure that no one buys because it's garbage, literally in plastic
also,
form.
Coincidentally, a pedo.
Yeah.
Well, actually, did they prove that or not? Allegedly.
Yeah.
You know who's not an alleged pedo? Al,
we just confirmed
who's clearly confirmed. We just got the fucking text
100%.
right here on this phone.
Pixar told us.
Pixar.
The guy.
From Pixar says.
John Pixar, actually. told us.
He's a guy, right?
Yeah. That was pretty funny. The fact that he was a peg warmer. And I like the little touch that he's the one that's in the box because no one cared to open him.
I think part 2 both benefits and kind of like takes advantage of the fact that it's very self-aware about collector culture because it vilifies a particular concept, I guess. And it, you know, the intentions are good, I guess. You know, toys are meant to be played with versus not.
I think the fact that they made him not really care about the actual product and just wanted money out of it, basically.
That's true. So
again, going with that selfish theme.
Yeah, but they also didn't defend anybody.
Yeah, they definitely didn't.
That collects just on the legit, you know.
Yeah.
They basically lumped them in with Al, the pedo.
Hashtag truth.
So yeah, that's interesting. Anyway, you got anything else to add before we wrap this whole number up, or any other questions you might want to?
I was a little worried.
Out there?
I was a little worried revisiting part 1 because I hadn't seen it in a while.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's still pretty good. I will say that I think I'm a little more critical towards it, just because of how good 3 was.
Exceptional. It's really 3 is so good that it blew my mind initially when they announced, dude, this fucking when they announced that there was gonna be a part 4. But apparently, according to everybody, and we're gonna have to see it ourselves to believe it still. According to everybody, it's like everybody's like, dude, totally worth it.
Yeah.
Somehow they found a way to just bring that shit back again. So take your word for it, crowd, for now. So yeah.
I found. I just want to throw a quick. It's not really a negative, but a quick criticism.
Mm-hmm.
I found Andy's voice terribly annoying in the first one.
I remember it.
It was very loud.
Was it?
Yes. And he has the same voice in the second one, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But there was something way better in the mixing, in that they kind of toned down the volume of his voice. And then by the third one, I was like cranking the volume up because I couldn't hear shit. I was like, "Come on, man!"
I can't even remember his fucking voice.
It's
To be
not
honest
good.
with you.
Yeah.
Not because it, I guess it doesn't matter. It's just a
No,
voice I didn't
yeah.
remember. Not supposed to be memorable,
Yeah.
right? Hope. Anyway.
Also, I like to say Sid, for having seen such a terrifying freaking thing in his childhood, somehow he got it good. I mean, he's just a trash man. Trash is rad.
Oh, I gotta point something else out.
Danny DeVito would be proud.
There's this part where that suggests that there is footage
Yeah.
of the toys moving
Yeah, at least pictures of it.
pictures. Yeah. So what happened to those pictures? The toys use a camera as a weapon. The
Yeah,
flash,
like a
especially.
photographer's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this camera ended up somewhere. Who got these horrifying pictures of
Yeah.
toys alive?
In this like freaking conveyor belt from
And
hell.
yeah, and speaking of cameras, another piece of evidence to just kind of add to the fact that Al was a pedo.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes.
He was taking pictures of the toys with Polaroids
poses.
to send off to the museum, and we were like, Polaroids.
If you really think about
Who
it,
takes Polaroids, dude?
Polaroids are like the freaking criminal's picture.
Yeah,
no proof.
untraceable.
You don't
Nobody
have
has to
get
develop them.
Yeah.
Let me find out. I have a fucking.
Dude,
Oh wait,
Al.
I did.
Dude, Al.
Hashtag. You heard it here first. Al's Toy Barn. Actually, Al's Sex Barn.
Yeah, it's also closed at weird hours. Like, is this
Yeah.
just like a sex dungeon?
He goes there on the weekend. He has to go there on the weekend. You see a worker there, so there was something he had to attend to, but
Yeah.
nobody's in the damn fucking place. It's shut. The lights are out the whole time, and it's
He has
daylight.
he has like a big back office too. It's
Yeah.
very weird.
Lots of Cheetos. Something weird going on in Al's Toy Barn. But anyway,
Cheetos for pedos.
let's go ahead and score these movies on scale 1 to 10. Again, relative to movies of their ilk. Give me a part 1 score. Hit me.
I feel like my desire to be fair
Mm-hmm.
and not nostalgia
Right.
it has been a little too unfair.
Right.
So I'm just gonna go with my gut feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give it an 8.
All right.
It's still pretty freaking fun. If I was going on
So by what you've said previously, the rest are gonna fall under that score, because you were like, man, part 1 though, it's my favorite.
No, I
it's
didn't.
the best.
I didn't say that.
Yes.
No.
Somebody rewind the tape.
I said part 2 is my favorite,
Oh, that's right.
but part 1 gives me the
I was
most.
trying to change history and it didn't work.
Yeah, and also said part 3 is the best one. So
All right. Okay, part 1, I'm going to give a good old score of, I'm going to give it an 8.5.
mm-hmm.
This is the reason this entire, I wouldn't call it a genre, but style of animation took hold, and it shows exactly why. It's a strong fucking movie. And, it holds up incredibly well. With the exception of some of the animation.
Yeah.
But the animation that counts is spectacular.
Yeah.
So
Even
who gives
if
a shit
Woody's
about
blinking,
hideous dogs?
Woody's blinking is weird.
Weird blinking, but I can live with that.
Yeah.
I'm not. I've never noticed the blinking thing until people tell me about a blinking
Yeah.
thing. Like recently, I found out that the T-1000 never blinks.
Oh, he doesn't?
So now I can think about it and go, damn, if he would have blinked, it would have fucking sucked.
Yeah.
You know
Who
what
blinks?
I'm saying? Yeah. But now that I think about it, I think about how impressive it is.
Yeah.
Who doesn't blink while shooting a gun?
You know what's
all that
also
jazz.
what's also impressive? The fact that he probably did that without any CGI, unlike Dark Shadows,
Oh
where
yeah.
they just CG'd the Johnny Depp's eyes.
Yeah. Weird. Anyway. So yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8.5. Part 2. Give me a score.
like I said, I don't know why part 2. Maybe it was because I always had the idea that part 2 sucked. I only seen it twice. Once on TV, which is like the worst way to see something.
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's why it surprised me so much, but it was pretty cool. Stinky Pete was pretty freaking shitty, and it was Kelsey Grammer, so that's always rad to see him get a job.
Yeah. P.S. He might be a pedo.
Oh yeah.
It was a weird thing with him and some scandal that. I hope not, because
he's
Kelsey.
Hashtag best beast.
Yeah, sadly.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Although Nicholas Holt's pretty. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Stop trying to defend Kelsey, dude. He's too busy falling off stages.
I'm going to give it an 8.5. I do think that, like I said, I think it's my favorite one now. So yeah, 8.5. Right. Just 0.5 above part 1.
I'm going to give Toy Story 2 a 7. I think it's the weakest entry in the mix. Very entertaining, though. That being said, look, this is a nitpick. This is not the reason it's the 7.
Oh?
But I'm just going to bring up this nitpick right here. And it's that the credit sequence.
Oh, yeah. It was bad.
It was horrid.
It was terrible.
This was a thing back then, and, it stuck around for a while to show bloopers during the credit sequences. And boy, howdy. That felt like a stone.
It was a stinker, which is unfortunate because the ending was actually pretty good in the movie.
But not that credit sequence. But that's not the reason. I just think this is the weakest in the series. It didn't really add much, but it's for sure a welcome addition. It's very entertaining. It's far more entertaining than when I originally saw it. When I originally saw it, I wasn't too keen on it. I was like, that's a movie I saw. Whereas now I can say that's a movie I greatly enjoyed. So there's that. But anyway, hit me with the part 3.
Part 3, I think, is still the best movie. Just because it's restrained in its approach, and we saw that through the series. It just part 2 was a lot more restrained than the first one, but yeah, bringing those kind of weird, heavy themes into it even more was just interesting, and just the fact that they know that the people watching this are probably going to be people who grew up with the damn movie and are playing that to their advantages was pretty good. Of course, while still not ignoring the kids. That being said, I think, like I said, I think part 3 is made for those people that grew up on it. And dude, Spanish Buzz.
Spanish Buzz gives it like a 10,000 score.
Yeah, so I gotta give it. I feel weird giving it a 10, so I'm gonna give it a 9.5. Spanish Buzz though gets a 12,000.
I'm gonna give it a 10. And you know why? Spanish Buzz.
God damn it.
No, I think it deserves a 10. It really stepped up its game. I think it's head and shoulders above its predecessors, which is tough for a sequel to do. Do I think it could stand on its own? Yeah. Despite it depending on a lot of stuff from the previous 2 movies, I think this movie's strong enough to stand on its own to somebody that's never seen the other 2 and still be significantly entertaining one and have a lot of substance. There's a lot to chew on here. There's a lot of themes. There's layers to those themes. And I think this is the one that tackles familiar themes from the previous ones the best. And it does it with kind of like a almost nihilistic fucking edge to it.
Yeah.
Like there's some grim stuff in it. But it never becomes a grim affair. It's just like, hey, look, this is a way to see something here. Check this out. And yeah, man, I think it also has the most heart. I think they went full force into giving it that particular feeling. That there's a lot of emotion invested into the storytelling, which is fantastic. And I think it has the best ending. To be honest with you. So yeah. So there you go. And the animation, of course, is fucking spectacular.
Spanish Buzz.
And yes, ultimately, Spanish Buzz. Come on. Do not give that anything but a fucking 10 million. So yeah, that would be my score, man. So this has been us reminiscing about this little series. We'll check out part 4 somewhere along the way.
Yeah, definitely gonna pay full price for it though.
Disney, you gotta fucking lower your prices on your shit, dude.
This This movie
on,
that came
man.
out in 1995, you still gotta pay $30 for it.
Yeah.
The flap!
This fucking, what is it like? Man, iron grip
Yeah.
on your animation especially is ludicrous. Stop. Nobody wants to pay 24, 27, 34 bucks
So they
for a
know
fucking movie.
they know they got the kids on lock, and the kids
Yeah,
are gonna
that's it,
freaking
but
bug their parents to buy that shit.
Kids destroy shit like crazy, so just make a fucking movie, sell it for 10, 15 bucks. They're gonna buy it over and over again because they destroy that shit
Yeah.
24/7. P.S. They might just wear out part 3 because, you know, that Spanish buzz sequence.
Dude, it's gonna be like back in the day when you would wear out scenes in tapes.
Yep.
Spanish
Only
buzz would be gone.
Yeah, somehow just wear a digital
Yeah.
information
You look at the disc,
barren.
it's white.
So, yeah, man, tell us what you think about this movie, or these movies. What do they mean to you, if anything? Who's your favorite characters? You know, the whole shebang. Give it to us in the comments down below. In the meantime, hit like, share, subscribe, and the notification buttons.